My mother gave me up so she can play mommy to her new family. Now years later wants to reconnect cause she's done something. Hey Reddit, my mom abandoned me at 12 to play house with her new family. 18 years later, she showed up needing a kidney. I had some thoughts about that. Buckle up, this gets wild. I'm Jake, 30 male, and this story starts when I was about 11 years old. My parents split when I was 9. Standard divorce stuff at first. Dad got me weekends, mom had me during the week. Everyone pretended to be civil at school events while secretly hating each other's guts. Dad was a plumber. Good guy, worked hard, showed up to my baseball games covered in grease stains because he'd come straight from a job site. The kind of dad who'd help you build a treehouse on a Saturday and actually knew how to use the tools properly. He lived in this small 2-bedroom apartment across town that smelled like coffee and sawdust. Mom worked as a medical secretary at a family practice clinic. She'd always been obsessed with status and appearances. Even when they were married, she'd complain about Dad's job being beneath us and how we lived in that neighborhood, like we were in some war zone instead of a perfectly normal middle-class area. After the divorce, she got worse. Started dressing differently, going out more, complaining about every little thing I did. I was just a kid trying to navigate my parents splitting up, but apparently I was cramping her style. When I was 11, she started dating this guy named Douglas, investment banker, or financial advisor, or something equally boring that paid well. The kind of guy who wore designer watches and talked about his car like it was his firstborn child. He drove a BMW and lived in one of those gated communities where all the houses look exactly the same but cost $500,000. I hated him immediately. Not because he was dating my mom, I'd accepted that was going to happen eventually, but because he treated me like an inconvenient piece of furniture that came with the apartment. He'd show up to pick up mom and barely acknowledge I existed. If I was watching TV, he'd ask mom if the kid could go to his room so they could have adult conversation. If I wanted to tell mom about my day at school, he'd interrupt with something about his work or some restaurant they should try. Just constant little reminders that I didn't belong in whatever new life they were building. Mom ate it up, though. She'd giggle at his stupid jokes and touch his arm like he was the most fascinating person on the planet. Meanwhile, I'd be sitting right there, and she'd forget I existed. 6 months into their relationship, she sat me down for a big talk. That's never good. Nothing good ever starts with a parent wanting to have a serious conversation with you. Turns out Douglas had proposed. They were getting married. And here's the thing. Douglas had 2 kids from his previous marriage. Twin girls, Sophie and Claire, who were 8 at the time. He had full custody because his ex-wife had moved to Europe for work and basically abandoned them. We're going to be a real family now, Mom said, like our previous family had been some kind of practice run that didn't count. I asked where I'd sleep since his house only had 3 bedrooms. Master, 1 for the twins, 1 for his home office. She got this uncomfortable look and explained they were working on solutions. Maybe converting the garage or finishing the basement eventually. Eventually. Great. The wedding happened fast. 3 months later, they got married at this fancy venue with an ice sculpture and a string quartet. I was technically in the wedding party, but felt like an afterthought. The twins were flower girls and got all this attention. I stood there in an uncomfortable suit that didn't fit right, while everyone fawned over how cute the girls looked. At the reception, I sat at the kids' table with the twins and some random cousins I'd never met. Mom and Douglas were at the head table, looking like they'd won the lottery. I watched her laugh and dance and play the perfect stepmother to those girls, and something in my chest felt hollow. That's when things really went downhill. Moving into Douglas's house was like being demoted from family member to house guest. The twins got the big bedroom with the attached bathroom and walk-in closet. Douglas's home office remained untouched. I got a fold-out couch in what was basically a storage room off the garage. Not even a real room, just a space where they kept Christmas decorations and old furniture, with a couch that pulled out into a bed that smelled like mothballs and had springs that dug into your back. It's temporary, Mom promised. Just until we figure out the basement renovation. The basement renovation never happened. That couch was my bed for the next year. School was my escape. I'd leave early, stay late for any club or activity that would have me. Baseball practice, chess club, even volunteered to help the janitor sometimes, just to avoid going back to that house. The janitor, Mr. Peterson, was actually pretty cool. He'd let me organize supplies in the storage room and would talk to me about sports and normal stuff. At home, I became invisible. Mom's entire world revolved around Sophie and Claire. She'd make them elaborate breakfasts, pancakes shaped like animals, fresh fruit, the works. I'd get a bowl and a box of cereal. She'd spend hours helping them with homework, making sure they had everything they needed for school, attending every single one of their activities. Me? I was lucky if she remembered to sign my permission slips. Douglas was even worse. He made it crystal clear I was an outsider in his house. He had rules for everything, and they all seemed designed to make my life harder. No TV after 8 p.m., no friends over without 2 weeks' notice, no eating in unauthorized areas, which was basically anywhere comfortable. But the twins? They could do whatever they wanted. They'd watch movies until midnight, have friends over constantly, leave snacks all over the house. When I pointed out the double standard, Douglas would say something about me being older and needing to set a good example. I was 12. They were 9. What kind of example was I supposed to set from my storage room bed? The worst part was watching Mom transform into a completely different person. She'd always been kind of high maintenance, but with Douglas, she became this Stepford wife who catered to his every whim and fawned over his daughters like they were royalty. She'd spend hours doing the twins' hair in elaborate braids. She'd take them shopping for new clothes constantly. She'd throw them birthday parties that looked like they cost more than Dad made in a month, and she'd post about it all over social media. My beautiful girls. So blessed with my family. Being a mom to these angels. I wasn't in the photos. I wasn't mentioned. I just didn't exist in her new narrative. One night when I was 12, I overheard a conversation I wasn't supposed to hear. I'd gotten up to use the bathroom around 11 p.m. and heard voices from their bedroom. The door was cracked open slightly. Douglas was saying something about the situation with your son. My ears perked up immediately. He's not fitting in with the family dynamic, Douglas said. The girls are confused about why he's always sulking around. It's creating a negative environment. I wasn't sulking. I was just existing in their house. And apparently that was too much. Mom made some soft response I couldn't hear clearly. Then Douglas said something that made my stomach drop. Maybe he'd be happier with his father. I mean, be honest. You barely see him anyway. He's clearly not adjusting to our family structure. The girls need stability, and having a moody teenager around isn't helping anyone. There was a long pause. Then Mom said, in this quiet voice I'd never heard before, "You might be right. Maybe it would be better for everyone." I stood frozen in that hallway, my 12-year-old brain trying to process what I'd just heard. My own mother was discussing giving me away like I was a pet they'd decided was too much trouble. I went back to my storage room couch and didn't sleep the rest of the night. 2 weeks later, Mom sat me down for another one of her talks. She had this gentle, sympathetic look on her face that made me want to throw up. "Honey, Douglas and I have been thinking about what's best for you," she started. Red flag right there. When adults start talking about what's best for you, they're usually about to do something that's best for them. She explained that I didn't seem happy there. I wasn't bonding with my stepsisters. The living situation wasn't ideal. And Dad had a bigger apartment now. 2 bedrooms, so I'd have my own actual room. "We think you'd be happier living with your father full-time," she said. "We'd still do visits, of course, weekends, holidays, all of that, but your primary residence would be with him." She was phrasing it like a gift, like she was doing me a favor by shipping me off. I asked about the basement renovation she'd promised. She got this uncomfortable look and said they decided to turn it into a playroom for the twins instead. They needed space for their toys and art supplies. So there it was. My mom was choosing her new family over me. She was picking her stepdaughters and their father over her actual son. And she was trying to frame it like it was for my benefit. "What if I don't want to leave?" I asked, even though I kind of did want to leave that miserable house. She got that tight-lipped look that meant the decision was already made. "Jake, this is what's best for the family. You're old enough to understand that sometimes we have to make difficult choices." The family, not our family. The family. She'd already decided which family she belonged to, and I wasn't in it. I moved in with Dad the next month. He was thrilled to have me full-time, though I could tell he was trying to hide how angry he was at Mom. He'd gotten a bigger place specifically so I'd have my own room. He bought me new furniture and let me decorate it however I wanted. He actually showed up to my baseball games and school events. For the first time in over a year, I felt like someone actually wanted me around. The visits with Mom that she'd promised never really materialized. At first, she'd make excuses. The twins had a recital, Douglas's family was visiting, they had plans she'd forgotten about. Then the excuses got weaker. She was tired. It wasn't a good weekend, maybe next time. By the time I was 13, I was seeing her maybe once every 2 months. And even then, it felt obligatory. She'd take me to lunch, ask superficial questions about school, check her phone constantly, and then drive me back to Dad's place looking relieved that her duty was done. I stopped trying to have real conversations with her. What was the point? She'd made her choice, and I was learning to live with it. High school was better. Dad's apartment was close to a good school, and I made actual friends. Joined the baseball team properly, worked part-time at a hardware store, dated a girl named Rachel who thought my dad was hilarious. I built a life that had nothing to do with my mom's perfect little replacement family. Dad never said a bad word about mom, which I respected. Even when I'd complain about her forgetting my birthday or canceling plans, he'd just say something about adults making mistakes and how I had to focus on my own future. He was the one who pushed me to apply to trade school programs, who helped me get my electrician's apprenticeship, who believed I could build something real. Meanwhile, Mom's social media was a constant highlight reel of her new family. Sophie and Claire's dance recitals, family vacations to Disney, Douglas's promotion, their new kitchen renovation, birthday parties that looked like magazine spreads. She was living her best life, and I wasn't part of the picture. Literally. She'd post family photos from holidays and I just wasn't in them. It was like she'd erased her first attempt at motherhood and was pretending the twins were her first and only kids. When I graduated high school, she showed up for about an hour, took a few photos, congratulated me, and left early because the twins had some event she couldn't miss. I watched her drive away and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness. Just this empty acceptance that this was how things were. Dad took me out for steak and told me he was proud. We toasted with soda and talked about my electrician apprenticeship starting that summer. That's what family is supposed to feel like. I threw myself into work. Turned out I was actually good at electrical work. Had a knack for understanding systems and solving problems. By the time I was 22, I'd passed my journeyman exam. By 25, I had my master electrician license and was making solid money doing residential and commercial work. Dad helped me buy a small house when I was 27. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I fixed it up myself, updated all the wiring, renovated the kitchen and bathroom. It felt good building something with my own hands, creating a space that was actually mine. I'd been dating this woman named Jessica for about 2 years. She was a teacher, smart and funny, and she didn't care that I worked with my hands for a living. Her parents liked me, treated me like family at their dinners, asked about my work with actual interest. That's when I realized what I'd been missing. Adults who actually cared about you without conditions. Life was good, really good. I had work I enjoyed, a girlfriend I loved, my own house, and Dad just a few miles away. I'd built something real out of the broken pieces of my childhood. Then, after nearly 18 years of minimal contact, my phone rang with my mother's number. I stared at it for 3 rings before answering. We hadn't spoken in almost a year, not since an awkward lunch where she'd spent the whole time talking about the twins' college plans and Douglas's golf handicap. Jake? Her voice sounded weird, thin, strained. Yeah, it's me. I need to talk to you about something. Can we meet? It's important. Important. The last time something was important, she'd shipped me off to live with Dad. But I was 30 now, not 12. I could handle whatever this was. Sure, when? Tomorrow? I could come to you. She'd never offered to come to me before. That should have been my first warning sign. We met at a coffee shop near my house the next afternoon. I got there first and grabbed a table in the back. When she walked in, I barely recognized her. She'd aged hard. The polished, perfect woman from all those social media posts looked thin and tired. Her clothes were still expensive, but hung on her like she'd lost weight. There were dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. Jake, she said, sitting down across from me. Thank you for meeting me. You said it was important. She ordered coffee she didn't drink, kept fidgeting with her purse strap. Finally, she looked at me with this expression that I couldn't quite read. I have kidney disease, she said. Stage 4. It's been progressing for about 3 years, but it's gotten worse. My kidneys are failing, and I need a transplant. I sat there processing this information. My first thought, and I'm not proud of this, was wondering why she was telling me. We barely knew each other at this point. I was basically a stranger she'd given birth to 30 years ago. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, because what else do you say? I've been on the transplant list for a year, but the wait times are long. 5, maybe 6 years. I don't have that long. She paused. I need a living donor. There it was. The real reason for this meeting. The twins were tested, she continued. Neither of them are compatible. Douglas isn't a match either. I've had extended family tested, my sister, my cousins, and no luck. But you, she looked at me with this desperate hope. You're my son. There's a much higher chance you'd be compatible. I just stared at her. After 18 years of being basically erased from her life, she wanted me to give her a kidney. I know we haven't been as close as we should be, she said, which was the understatement of the century. But you're my son. Family helps family. That's what we do. Family helps family. This woman who'd chosen her new family over me when I was 12, who'd missed my high school graduation for a dance recital, who'd erased me from her social media and her life, she was sitting here talking about family, like she had any right to use that word with me. I need to think about this, I said. Of course, I understand this is a lot, but Jake, her voice cracked. I'm scared. The doctors say if I don't get a transplant soon, I might have less than a year. Part of me, the part that was still that 12-year-old kid hoping his mom would choose him, felt something. Sympathy, maybe, or just the automatic response to seeing someone in pain. But the larger part, the part that had spent 18 years learning to live without her, felt nothing but cold calculation. I'll think about it, I repeated. This isn't something I can decide right now. She pulled out her phone. Can I give you my doctor's information? They can explain the process, answer any questions you have about compatibility testing, and what the donation would involve. I took the information to be polite. We sat there for another awkward 10 minutes while she talked about her treatment, her prognosis, how scared Sophie and Claire were. Not once did she ask about my life, my work, if I was seeing anyone. It was all about her crisis and what I could do to fix it. When we finally left, she hugged me. I stood there stiff as a board while she squeezed me, whispering, thank you, like I'd already agreed to something. I drove home in a daze and immediately called Dad. She wants what? He exploded when I told him. A kidney. She needs a transplant and wants me to get tested to see if I'm compatible. The silence on the other end lasted so long I thought the call had dropped. Then Dad let out a long breath. Son, I can't tell you what to do here. This is your decision, but I want you to really think about what you're being asked to give. This isn't lending someone $50. This is major surgery, permanent changes to your body, real risks. I know. And I want you to think about who's asking. Not who you wish was asking, but who she actually is. The woman who gave you up because you didn't fit into her new life, who hasn't been a mother to you in 18 years, who only came back because she needs something from you. He wasn't wrong. That night, I talked to Jessica about it. She listened to the whole story. The divorce, the remarriage, being shipped off to Dad's, the 18 years of barely existing in my mother's life. What do you want to do? She asked when I was done. I don't know. Part of me thinks I should help because it's the right thing to do. But another part of me is angry that she only came back because she needs something. Both of those feelings are valid, Jessica said. But let me ask you this. If you donate and save her life, what do you think happens after? Do you think she suddenly becomes the mother you needed when you were 12? Or do you think she takes what she needs and goes back to her perfect family while you recover from major surgery? I didn't have an answer to that. Over the next few days, Mom started calling regularly. At first, it was just checking in, seeing if I'd thought about it. Then, it escalated to sending me articles about living donation, statistics about success rates, testimonials from donors talking about how fulfilling it was to save a life. Then, the texts started from numbers I didn't recognize. Sophie and Claire, the twins who'd gotten everything I'd been denied. Sophie. Hi, Jake. This is Sophie. Mom told us about you maybe being able to help. We're really scared. She's all we have. Claire. Please consider helping our mom. She's the best mom in the world and we can't lose her. The best mom in the world. I wondered if they knew about me at all, or if I was just some distant relative who'd conveniently showed up with compatible organs. Then Douglas called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. Jake, we need to talk about your mother's situation, he said, skipping any greeting. What about it? She needs this transplant. The girls are devastated. This family needs you to step up and do the right thing. This family. Not our family. This family. Just like Mom used to say. I'm thinking about it, I said. Thinking about it? Your mother is dying. What's there to think about? Whether I want to undergo major surgery for someone who abandoned me when I was a kid. The silence was sharp. Then Douglas said, in this cold voice, that's ancient history. You're an adult now. Stop being selfish and help your mother. I hung up on him. The pressure campaign continued. My aunt called, saying Mom had always loved me and families should stick together. Cousins I barely remembered sent Facebook messages about the importance of family. Even people from Mom's church group started reaching out, talking about Christian duty and forgiveness. It was overwhelming, but it also made me realize something. Not a single one of these people had cared where I was or how I was doing for the past 18 years. Now they all had opinions about what I owed to the woman who'd given me up. I decided to do something I probably should have done sooner. I went to talk to someone who knew about organ donation, not emotionally, but medically and legally. A buddy of mine, Carson, was a nurse at the hospital. I called him up and asked if we could talk. Kidney donation is serious business, Carson explained over lunch. It's major surgery with real risks: infection, bleeding, blood clots, reactions to anesthesia. Most people do fine, but most isn't all. Plus, living with one kidney means permanent lifestyle changes. You have to be more careful about certain medications. You're at higher risk for high blood pressure and kidney disease yourself down the line. What about recovery? 6 to 8 weeks before you're back to normal work, assuming you don't have complications. That's 6 to 8 weeks of lost income if you're self-employed, which you are. And there's no guarantee your relationship with your mother improves after. In fact, in my experience, when family dynamics are already bad, going through something this intense often makes them worse. That night, I made a list. 2 columns. Reasons to donate, reasons not to. Reasons to donate. It's my biological mother. I could save her life. I'd avoid family guilt and pressure. It's technically the right thing to do. Reasons not to. She abandoned me when I was 12. She chose her new family over me repeatedly. She's only back because she needs something: major surgery with real risks, permanent changes to my body, lost income during recovery. No guarantee of compatibility anyway. Even if I donate, nothing suggests our relationship will improve. I don't owe her anything. The list wasn't even close. I called Mom and asked to meet again. This time I picked the location, a park near my house where we could talk privately. She showed up looking hopeful. I hated that I was about to disappoint her, but I'd made my decision. I'm not getting tested, I said, before she could even sit down. Her face fell. What? Why not? Because I don't want to. This is major surgery with real risks, and I'm not willing to go through that for someone who hasn't been a mother to me in 18 years. But I'm your mother, she said, like that word meant something between us. No, you were my mother. Past tense. You stopped being my mother when you chose Douglas and his daughters over me. You stopped being my mother when you shipped me off because I didn't fit into your perfect new family. You stopped being my mother every time you missed my events, forgot my birthday, or erased me from your life. I never meant to hurt you, she started. But you did. For 18 years, you hurt me by not being there. And now you show up asking me to give you a part of my body? That's not how this works. She started crying. I'm dying, Jake. Doesn't that matter to you at all? Of course it matters. I'm not a monster. But your medical emergency doesn't erase 18 years of you treating me like I didn't exist. It doesn't undo all the times you chose them over me. It doesn't make us family just because you need something. Please, she begged. I know I wasn't perfect, but I'm trying to make things right now. Let me make things right. You can't make things right by asking me for organs. That's not how it works. If you wanted to make things right, you should have done it years ago. When I graduated high school. When I got my first real job. When I bought my house. You had plenty of opportunities to be my mother again, and you chose not to take them. You don't get to show up now and demand that I save you. So you're just going to let me die? You're not dying because of me. You're dying because you have kidney disease. I'm not responsible for that, and I'm not responsible for fixing it. You have a whole family that you chose over me. Let them figure it out. I stood up to leave. She grabbed my arm. Jake, please, think about Sophie and Claire. They need their mother. And there it was. Even now, even when she was begging for her life, she was making it about them. Then I hope they find a donor, I said, pulling my arm away. But it's not going to be me. I walked away from her crying in that park and didn't look back. The aftermath was immediate and ugly. My phone exploded with messages from family members calling me selfish, cruel, heartless, telling me I was condemning my own mother to death, that I'd regret this for the rest of my life. Douglas called from yet another number I didn't have blocked. You're killing her, you know that? You're murdering your own mother because you can't get over the past. I'm not killing anyone. I'm just not volunteering to undergo major surgery for someone who abandoned me. That's not the same thing. She's dying, he screamed. Then maybe you should have treated her son better when she had the chance, I said, and hung up. The twins sent more messages. These were nastier, less about begging and more about attacking. Sophie, you're a horrible person. How can you just let someone die when you could help? Claire, I hope you can live with yourself knowing you killed our mom. I blocked them both. My aunt tried the manipulation approach. Your mother made mistakes, but don't you want to be the bigger person? Show her you're better than she was? I didn't respond. The only person who supported me completely was Dad. He called the day after my conversation with Mom. How you holding up? He asked. I'm okay. Feel like a bad person, but I'm okay. You're not a bad person. You're a person with boundaries. There's a difference. Everyone thinks I'm letting her die. Everyone didn't live through what you lived through. They don't get a vote in what you do with your body. He paused. I'm proud of you, son. I know that doesn't help with the guilt, but I'm proud you stood up for yourself. That helped more than he knew. Jessica was my rock through all of it. She screened calls, blocked numbers, and physically stood between me and a family member who showed up at my house one night to talk sense into me. "This is harassment," she told Douglas when he tried to push past her at my front door. "Leave now or I'm calling the police." He left, but not before calling me a murderer one more time. The social media campaign was something else. Family members started posting vague things about the importance of family and people who refuse to help their loved ones. Some were less vague and posted directly about organ donation and how anyone who could help but chose not to was basically committing murder. I stayed off social media completely, deleted the apps from my phone. Whatever they were saying, I didn't want to see it. 3 weeks after my conversation with Mom in the park, Dad called with news. "I heard through the grapevine that your mother found a donor." My stomach dropped. "She did?" "Yeah. Some organization that helps match living donors with recipients. Apparently, she's been on multiple lists, and one finally came through. She's having the surgery next week." Relief flooded through me so fast I had to sit down. She'd found another donor. I wasn't responsible for whether she lived or died. The guilt that had been crushing me for weeks suddenly lifted. "That's good," I managed. "That's really good." "Yeah," Dad said. "Thought you'd want to know." I didn't go to the hospital, didn't send flowers or cards. Just went about my life and tried to pretend the past few weeks hadn't happened. The surgery was successful according to the Family Gossip Network. Mom's kidney function improved, and her prognosis looked good. Sophie and Claire posted grateful messages on social media about the angel donor who'd saved their mother's life. Not a single mention of the son who'd said no. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. 2 months after the surgery, my doorbell rang on a Saturday morning. I opened it to find Mom standing there, looking healthier than she had in our previous meetings, but still thin. "Jake," she said, "can we talk?" Every instinct told me to close the door, but curiosity won out. "What do you want?" "I wanted to thank you," she said, which wasn't what I expected. "The donor, he was a stranger who saw my story online and volunteered. Because of him, I'm going to live. And I realized something through all of this." I waited. "I realized that I don't have a relationship with my son." "Not really. You were right about everything you said. I chose my new family over you, and that was wrong. I was a bad mother, and I'm sorry." The apology felt hollow, too late and too convenient now that she had what she needed from someone else. "Okay," I said. "I want to fix things between us. I want to be your mother again, if you'll let me." "Why now? Because you feel guilty? Because you almost died and had some epiphany? Because I realized I've been running from my mistakes instead of facing them. I convinced myself that you were better off with your father, that my new family needed me more, that the past was past. But you were right. I abandoned you, and I want to make it right. I looked at this woman who'd given birth to me, who'd pushed me out of her life when I was 12, who'd only come back when she needed something. I looked at her and felt nothing. "I appreciate the apology," I said, "but I don't think I can be your son anymore. That ship sailed a long time ago. Jake, I built a life without you. A good life. I have a father who actually shows up. I have a girlfriend who loves me. I have work that I'm proud of and a house that's mine. I don't have a hole in my life where you used to be because I filled that hole with people who actually care about me." "But I do care about you," she insisted. "Maybe you do now, but you didn't when it mattered. You didn't care when I was a kid sleeping on a couch in a storage room. You didn't care when you missed my graduation. You didn't care for 18 years. I'm sorry you almost died. I'm glad you found a donor, but I can't be your son just because you finally feel guilty about how you treated me." She was crying again. "I can't change the past. No, you can't, and I can't forget it. So I think it's better if we just don't do this. You have your family. I have mine. Let's just leave it at that. Please don't shut me out," she begged. "You shut me out first," I said gently. "All I'm doing is accepting that and moving on." I closed the door. This time, I didn't feel guilty about it. I felt free. Dad came over that night with takeout, and we watched a game. We didn't talk about Mom or the conversation or any of it. Just sat there like we'd done 1,000 times before, comfortable in each other's company. That's what family is supposed to feel like. Jessica got home late from a school event. She kicked off her shoes, grabbed some food, and curled up next to me on the couch. "Your mom came by today," I said. "Oh?" She didn't sound surprised. "She apologized. Wants to build a relationship now that she's healthy again." "What did you tell her?" "That I already have a family. I don't need her trying to be something she never was." Jessica squeezed my hand. "Good." A few weeks later, I got an invitation in the mail. Sophie was getting married. The invitation was addressed to me, but there was a handwritten note from Mom on the back. I know I have no right to ask, but it would mean a lot to the girls if you came. We'd love to have you there. I showed it to Dad. He read it, shook his head, and handed it back. What are you going to do? He asked. Nothing. I'm not going. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. I spent too many years trying to be part of a family that didn't want me. I'm done with that. I threw the invitation away. The wedding happened. I saw the photos on social media through mutual friends. Everyone looked happy and perfect, just like always. Mom posted about her beautiful daughter and her perfect family. No mention of her son who'd chosen not to attend. It didn't bother me. That was their family, not mine. 6 months later, I proposed to Jessica. We got married in a small ceremony with the people who actually mattered. Dad, Jessica's family, our close friends. It was perfect, simple, genuine, full of people who'd actually shown up for us over the years. Mom sent a card. It was a generic congratulations card, with a note that said she wished us well and hoped I was happy. I filed it away and forgot about it. Life moved on. I built my business, bought a bigger house, started thinking about kids. The chapter with my mother was closed, and I was okay with that. My phone rings sometimes with her number. I don't answer. She sends cards on my birthday and at Christmas. I appreciate the thought, but don't respond. We exist in separate orbits now, and that's how it needs to be. Because at the end of the day, family isn't about biology. It's about who shows up, who's there when things get hard, who chooses you every day, not just when they need something. My mother taught me that lesson, just not the way she intended. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.